What is your name?
My name is Shubham Johar, but I mention just Shubham in my official documents.
Where do you belong to?
I belong to a small urbanized city known as Rohtak. It is in the suburbs of the metropolitan main capital city of Delhi.
Do you like your hometown?
I really like my hometown as it is really livable and the pollution levels are really lesser to an extent where I love the vibe of the air, and I guess I would be loving the city more in the coming future.
Is there anything which you dislike about your hometown?
I guess just the traffic issue is very prominent in my area and the connectivity of the road should be increased.
Okay. What job would you like to do? What job would you like to have 10 years from now and why?
I want to fit into a management and administrative role at a country club or a sports club, managing the daily people related to the healthcare sector and the sports sector.
How useful will English be for your future? Why and why not?
Certainly, I would be migrating to an English-speaking nation, and most of the Western and industrialized nation have English as their first official language, and it will hugely impact my future job prospect and my career aspect.
How much traveling do you hope to do in the future? Why and why not?
I am usually not a really travel person, to be very honest. So I would be traveling to a lesser extent when it's not really important to do so, and I would love the idea to have things in my proximity where I would be living in the future.
How do you think your life will change in the future? Why and why not?
I think that my living standard and my happiness level would definitely go up in the coming future as I would be starting earning and I would be having a stable job to look after.
This is the end of the part 1. Now I am asking a cue card. This is part 2. The cue card is describe a book that you enjoyed reading because you had to think a lot. You should say what this book was, why you decided to read it, what reading this book made you think about, and explain why you enjoyed reading this book. Here is your cue card. You have 1 to 2 minutes to make your points. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Please give me the cue card. Please start.
I'm an avid book lover and a reader, and I love the idea to read books in the past, and currently I'm intrigued and fascinated by historical past of our country, just not, but also how the world came towards this current day modernization. So one fine evening, I was searching about some historical books in my library and was having my eye on this certain book which reads Girls, Germs and Steel, and it was published by avid geographer. He is currently, as I came to know more about this writer and I searched more about him on the internet, I was able to spot that he is currently working in the Australian suburbs and with the aboriginal population of that country. He just sticks around them to know more about their living habits, just not, and also how they feed themselves and how they feed their families. So they are right now in the Australian suburbs only, and he is working with them. This book taught me how the history unfolded and how cultivation took place at certain areas of the world, how earlier civilizations were able to settle up at a certain place, and how today some countries are more industrialized, some countries are more developed, but others aren't. So if I look at the trend, the countries which were cultivated and modernized and settled up in the past were the countries which are developed today. If I have to name a few, that would be England, Spain, Australia, North America and Canada. And countries which are least developed were those which were not having cultivation started earlier in the past. So to name a few again, that would be African countries, Ethiopia, Libya, Egypt, and if I have to spot one again, that would be Zimbabwe. So I think we as a nation, India, lie somewhere in between, because our cultivation started but with many barriers, to be very honest about it. So I would say this book of his helped me know more deeply about the nations around the globe and helped me connect better to a level where I can have a factual knowledge, where I can know how would I be able to further connect with the content available in my country, and books I have to read to prosper my mind and have a better perspective about the future.
This is the end of the part 2. Now I am going to ask you some follow-up questions. What are the most popular types of children's books in your country?
Children are really interested to read about their favorite cartoon character, to be very precise, and they love the idea of having comic books which just caters their favorite TV serials like the Spider-Man show or the Batman show, and if I have to name again the one more, that would be SpongeBob SquarePants, and Tom and Jerry would also be there. So the comics have the dominant market share in my country.
What are the benefits of parents reading books to their children?
Children always love the idea of having some conversation with their parents, and if parents are able to just develop this habit where children listen to them, then they will able to develop patience in their child's mind, and they would be able to have them fed with appropriate knowledge which will have an underlying motto that would help them definitely in the practical life more.
Do you think that people will be reading books more or less in the future?
I guess the dependence upon books have decreased to an extent where people are just having a look on the online content more, and they are just spending many hours of their day looking at the screen of their smartphone, and article reading is more dominant on the smartphone, and I think that dependence upon books will decrease, to be very honest.
Should parents always let children choose the books they read?
In my personal opinion, I would say that parents should always have an overview foundation over the content children can choose from, because some contents are not made and designed for children, they are adult contents, and parents should have the overview, just the direction, but they should let their children precisely decide which area they are interested into, might be technology or some animated movie background or something like that.
How popular are electronic books in your country?
Electronic books like Kindle or Amazon Reader are coming up with some bump in my country, and they are having their punch in the children's curiosity set. I guess the people are more interested by the idea of technological advancement the electronic books are having, and they will love the feel of the original textbook more if my knowledge goes and my prediction goes correct.
What are the advantages of parents reading electronic books compared to printed books?
When you read a textbook, you have to either purchase it from the market or you have to borrow one. But at the end, you are cutting more trees to produce more books. So the first very wonderful and important impact, if I have to be on the positive side, that would be saving the environment, and I am a great avid environment lover, and I go by this fact that you will save more trees and you will have more environment friendly impact when you go by the electronic books.
Will electronic books ever completely replace printed books in the future?
I personally believe that electronic books will have a dominant market share in the coming future, as people want to save time and money and investment they would love to do on any other sector like stock exchange markets place, or they want to purchase their clothes more, and certainly it's cheaper to buy an e-book in a longer run than buying many hard books.
Do you prefer to read electronic books or printed books?
As my personal choice goes, I love the feel and the vibe a personal textbook gives, and the paper-like quality I do not get on an electronic book. So I would be having the more retro electronic, the original textbook with me more in the coming future also, and I would skip the idea of buying an ebook.
Okay. What problems do people face while reading a book?
I guess they are having a problem when they are having just the comprehension of the text they have read because of the lesser extent of grammatical and I would say the understanding of language is missing. So if they are having the command over the language in which they are reading that particular book, they would be having this problem solved.
This is the end of the part 3. That's all.